Now, let's talk to Harold the H. Peacock, and he's going to tell about Ipswich's hero mother. How are you, Harold the H?
Very well, Danny. Yes, from midwives to the mother of all heroes. It's a great story.
What a segue. Take it away. All the kids are listening and the staff out there at Braden Park.
Yeah, well, it was back in 1947, the 48-year-old Ipswich mother and wife of a mechanic, Mrs. Rose Manson, she arrived at San Francisco, California in the United States. Now, when she disembarked from the U.S. Navy troopship, she could easily have lost. In fact, she was lost amongst the Australian war brides, who were, of course, excited to be reunited with their American servicemen husbands. But all the fuss was focused on Mrs. Manson. You see, months earlier, on the other side of the world, more than 2,000 people attended the American Memorial Day service at the U.S. War Cemetery here in Ipswich. The U.S. Vice Consul was deeply touched that so many Australians were there to pay tribute to the American dead from the Second World War. And Mrs. Manson was there placing sweet peas and jonquils, that's a kind of daffodil, on all the graves. Now, Mrs. Manson was born Rose Abbott just before the turn of the century in North London in England. During the latter stages of the First World War in 1918, Rose was just 19 years old when she fell in love and married a 34-year-old Ipswich soldier. He brought her home to Ipswich, where she gave birth to 12 children.
Holy snapping! What was she? Did she know how it happened?
Well, obviously she was helped by a really good Ipswich midwife, right? It might have been Gabriella.
She's 19.
But it was but it was during the Second World War that the then Mrs. Manson became mother to another 1,450 children.
Wow.
That's because Rose had appointed herself as a voluntary guardian of the American War Cemetery in Ipswich.
Wow.
She placed flowers that she grew herself at a home on Salisbury Road on every single grave in the cemetery. She took a job as a cleaner at the post office so that she could pay for the postage stamps to write to the mother of or wife of every one of the 1,450 American soldiers buried there. Now, after the war, the American loved ones were so grateful for her unsolicited kindness that they all banded together to raise money to take her to America. They wanted to meet Rose and thank her in person. So when Rose stepped ashore in San Francisco, that was just the beginning of a 9-month tour across the United States. She visited thousands of families from California to Kansas and all over the Midwest. She was welcomed by doctors, professors and stevedores. She slept in train depots, miners' cabins and palatial American homes. She stayed with the richest and poorest and travelled by every means possible. She even was hitchhiking at one stage.
Wow.
Now, news outlets across America christened Rose as the Aussie Angel.
Wow.
Now, the remains of the American servicemen here at Ipswich were eventually repatriated to the US, where they were reinterred with full military honours. And the Ipswich War Cemetery, it was renamed Manson Park in her honour, and it remains named that today.
Get out.
That's right. Now, I was planning on sharing this story with you for next Mother's Day. But, Danny, a couple of days ago, my own mother, Shirley, she passed away. My mum was also a hero to so many because she was synonymous with junior basketball at Southport and Labrador on the Gold Coast. Over a period of 40 years, she positively impacted the lives of over 10,000 children. So I wanted to honour my mother and all mothers by telling you the story of Ipswich's Rose Manson.
What a great yarn, and so sorry to hear about the passing of your mum, as mine did about 10 months ago, and I miss her dearly, and Damien's did about 12 months ago. Mothers are special. Just to have a baby is an enormous achievement, isn't it? And I'm glad you honoured your mother, mate. Really.
Look, it's an honour and a blessing to know your mother, and we all should hug a mother. If it's not yours, hug another one, because they're blessed people.
You're right again. My mum loved a hug. All right, mate, so how do we hear this story?
Yes, I always upload it first thing Sunday mornings on historyouthere.com.
And people like Gabriella DeBella, who's starting off her life as a midwife, will help deliver so many children in her career. What a great career.
Thank you to Gabriella and everyone like her. They do a great job.
Yeah, they do. All right, mate, and I really appreciate your time, and again, condolences to you and your family for your dear mum. It's now 8:19. We are on West Bremer Radio.